Before we get into it, I want to say thanks to Command Brand for sponsoring today's video. Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is KB, and today I am emptying out my living and dining room and totally redesigning it. And I'm going to share 9 interior design tips and tricks that are totally going to elevate your space, and you might not have to buy anything new. Before we get into today's video, please don't forget to smash that subscribe button, but let's get into it. So as I said, I have truly emptied out the space. So here is a look at the before of both the dining room and the living room. When you're redecorating a space, it can be so powerful to empty it out completely, put everything in like a guest room, in your bedroom, in a hallway, and get a look at it when it's entirely blank so that you can really see how you want to reintroduce things and how you want to shift things around. Plus, if you're going to move any furniture, it's so much easier to move it when there isn't a bunch of decor in the way. Let's start today's decorate with me in the dining room because this room has been the most neglected. Tip number 1 is to keep the centerpiece simple. I like to keep my centerpieces simple because when it's time to entertain, I don't like to find a place for 50 million things or feel like I have to stand up to see the person sitting across from me. I recently found this candle stand that turns anything into a candle. An old candle container, a vase, a bowl, so I decided to use this bowl I've had for ages. I'm being a little weird here because I actually got these pears from the dollar store and I think they look super realistic and I want them to be on display, and I'm just setting them in the stand. The wonderful thing about the stand is because it's meant to be for a candle, it smells really good. So you don't actually have to put wicks in this if you don't want to, but I'm actually adding wicks as well. This is a novel centerpiece. I just wanted a little bit of like fruit or realism on the table because I feel like that's what a dining table needs, something that reminds you of food. Now it's time to add some storage because the dining room is seriously lacking in that. There is nothing here right now, and I find that all of my stuff is kind of piling up on the island and on my kitchen counter stool. So tip number 2 is to never limit what a piece of furniture can be used for. So I actually have a dresser in my office / guest room that is purely for show. I used it as a part of a makeover and it's just kind of sitting in there. The only thing that really happens in my office is work. And our dining area, like I said, is begging for storage, so I'm actually going to use it as a dining console. Now that I've added the dining console out here, it looks nice, but it's a little bit bare on top, and that brings me to tip number 3, which is always to anchor your furniture. I've recently been feeling like my living space lacks personality and a sense of us, and you'd probably notice that in my house there aren't many family photos, and I'm not one for family photos for a few reasons. 1, I never remember to print them, and 2, I film for a living, so I don't like the idea of having my family's images on display. So I want to find a way to bring our memories to life in a more secretive and covert way. So I partnered with 3M, today's sponsor, to create a maximalist gallery wall. Now, maximalism means something different to everyone, and of course, when it comes to interior design, my style is a little bit more minimal, but I actually grew up in a maximalist household, and to me, maximalism just means putting up things that are of sentimental value to you and having the story kind of tie those items together and them not necessarily be tied together by a color scheme or a texture or something like that. Growing up, I never had the opportunity to truly travel because we just didn't have the means to do so. Now that I'm older, I am so grateful for my privilege and that I'm able to travel now. And every time my spouse and I travel, we bring back magnets commemorating our travels on both the trips we take together and separately, so that the other always feels like they were a part of the journey. Right now, the magnets sit on the side of the refrigerator, kind of neglected, so I'm going to create a small gallery wall anchored by a mirror above the sideboard. To start, I'm using the 65-pound 3M Claw drywall picture hanger. It's not just made for artwork, but also heavy home decor items and mirrors like this one. The 65-pound drywall picture hanger holds up to 65 pounds, which is perfect for this 55-pound mirror. They are made of engineered hardened steel and lock into drywall anywhere. So now I'm using the spot marker, which comes in some packages, to figure out where I want to place the drywall picture hanger so that I get the placement right on the first try. Now I'm pushing it in with my thumbs, and that's it. You don't need any tools or to find a stud. Plus, when it's time to remove it, there are no big holes left in your walls. As you'll probably see throughout this video, I have tons of holes in my wall from before I found the drywall picture hangers and Command Brand products. Now that the mirror is up, it's time to frame the magnets. I bought a bunch of black felt that I'm adhering to the frame so that there's a sense of uniformity to this gallery wall. Again, for me, maximalism is sentimentalism, but there is going to be a little bit of rhyme and reason so that it fits really, really well with the rest of my decor. First time framing our magnet from Antarctica, and the remaining pesos I have for that trip was a true bucket list destination. And while we got the Drake Shake instead of the Drake Lake, it was a trip of a lifetime. Next, I'm framing magnets from 2 solo trips. One Babe took to Europe and one I took to California. My trip was for one of the very first influencer trips I ever took, and it was so special being recognized enough as a creator to be invited. Since there are 2 solo trips represented here in this frame, I want to also add our magnet from Bora Bora, which is where we had our honeymoon redo. Now that everything is framed, I'm going to adhere them to the wall using the Command large picture hanging strips. These hold up to 15 pounds and provide a damage-free picture hanging solution for art and decor, big and small. When using these large picture hanging strips, be sure to follow all package instructions. I first am adding the strips to the frames, pressing them into the wall, and now I'm going to let the large picture hanging strips sit on the wall for an hour. Now that an hour has passed, I'm just pressing the frames into the wall to hang them. As you can see, you don't need any tools and install is so easy. And I even positioned one of them wrong, and luckily Command picture hanging strips are damage-free when it comes to removal, so you can fix mistakes and change your mind when decorating. Plus, there are no holes or sticky residue left behind. Now that we've anchored the space above the console, it's time to style the console. Tip number 4 is to always follow the rule of thirds and try to keep at least 1/3 of the items in the vignette functional. So on this side, I'm thinking about adding some faux greenery. You guys know I can't keep any real greenery alive. It is what it is. And I'm finishing it up with some matches so that I can really easily light the candle that I made on the dining table without having to keep those matches on the dining table itself. On the other side, I want to make it even more functional, but I'm doing 2 boxes. The top box has my filming equipment and the bottom one actually has additional silverware. I also wanted to add some sort of lighting, but I didn't want to obscure that gallery wall we just made. So I'm actually going to use a candle warmer because it's very low profile, and it's super useful because it warms my candles without me having to worry about a frame. And this next item is going to seem a little bit funny because I'm adding a candle snuffer next to a candle warmer. But again, this is for the candle that I've made in the dining room, and I love it's just like a small item that I can add to this vignette that's functional, but also will leave you kind of questioning why I did what I did. Now let's move into the living area, and I tried this on Instagram already and you guys had a lot to say, but tip number 6 in my opinion is to get creative with how you display your textiles. So I have tons of blankets. I have blankets from some of my favorite artists. I just love textiles, and I've decided to start hanging them on the wall. Again, before I found the Command brand products, I was putting lots of holes in my wall, so I have lots of leftover holes. So I decided to hang these 2 blankets up on the wall that I think complement each other really well and kind of work as artwork. And I know I haven't done the cord management perfectly in here yet, but what I will say is I've had so many issues with this TV recently that I'm afraid to touch the cord because every time I move it to do the cord management, the TV stops working. So we're just gonna have to live with this cord and pretend that it's not here. But I'm trying to distract you away from that by using these new picture lights I picked up. I've had them for a few months now, but they've moved throughout the home because they hadn't found their permanent place, but I really like the way they look flanking the television and these 2 accent chairs because I live in Pittsburgh and it's just so gloomy here. So I love that this gives a little pop of lighting and a little sense of ambiance when it's otherwise gloomy in this space. Now let's talk about the sofa, because I think when it's springtime or we get the urge to redecorate our homes, we're like, we need to buy something entirely brand new, and that just isn't realistic. Life is expensive. So just remember to fluff and lint roll your furniture, give it a good vacuum. It really helps it feel brand new. I'm telling you, I just like to take a lint roller and a Chom Chom to my furniture, and it really perks back up and gives it some new life. Now I'm going to actually add some pillows to my seating. So tip number 7 is to actually layer old pillow covers on new ones. I lose pillow covers like it's my job. I don't know, they're just kind of hard to keep track of. So I actually like to layer them on top of one another. Not only does this prevent you from losing your pillow covers, but it also helps you get that double stuffed look or that overstuffed look that I think people really love with their pillows. And then when it's time to wash them, you just wash them all and you are good to go. And if you're a pillow lover, that's fine. But I think something people do all the time is they will cover their sofa in pillows, and then the pillows end up getting thrown on the floor when people actually come to sit down. So I actually like to keep at least one seat on my sofa pillowless, and the same thing for one of my accent chairs. Last, let's do some coffee table styling. Something I've learned a lot recently is to keep your coffee table styling low profile, because if you like to watch TV, it can be so hard to see past that decor. I always like to anchor it with a coffee table book or a tray so that I can move it out of the way really easily, keeping my home super functional. I also am adding lighting for some extra pizzazz, because when I see a lamp on like a dining table at a restaurant, I think it's so luxe. So on my coffee table, I'm adding that USB light and these LED candles that I picked up recently with a little pop of color from these faux tulips. So here is the before and after of my space. I love the gallery wall and how the spaces really come together, even though I didn't buy anything new today apart from the frames and felt. Thanks again to Command for sponsoring today's video, and for your damage-free, tool-free picture and decor hanging, be sure to check out the Command picture hanging strips and 3M Claw drywall picture hangers. You can click the link in my bio to go check them out. I hope you're walking away from today's video having some new ideas on how you can revitalize your space without buying anything new. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and until next time, have a beautiful day.